Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our live audience and also to those tuning in to watch the recording at a later time. Thanks for joining us to learn more about the Johns Hopkins School of Education and our graduate certificate in Mind, Brain, and Teaching. My name is Andrew Goolsby Cole, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. And joining me tonight is Assistant Professor and Faculty Lead for our Mind, Brain, and Teaching Certificate, Dr. Ranjani Janbol. We're also really fortunate to have the Vice Dean for Academic Affairs, Dr. Mariel Hardiman. Dr. Hardiman is the co-founder and director of the Neuroeducation Initiative, and also the creator of the Mind, Brain, and Teaching program that we'll be talking about this evening. So I wanted to get started with a brief overview of the School of Education. We are one of 9 schools at the Johns Hopkins University. We began way back in 1909 as a college courses for teachers, and throughout the years and after many iterations, we finally became our own school and were named the Johns Hopkins School of Education in 2007. We enroll approximately 2,600 students that take classes at our locations in Baltimore and Columbia, Maryland, and also online. We are accredited by NCATE and KCREC, and all programs that lead to licensure are approved by the Maryland State Department of Education. Okay. The School of Education is well acclaimed. We're consistently included in the U.S. News and World Report's rankings of top graduate schools of education, and we were recently ranked 15th in the world by the 2018 Times Higher Education World University Rankings. We have approximately 130 faculty members. Students here come from diverse professional backgrounds. Many students are pursuing career changes, some are recent college graduates, while others are experienced educators and counselors looking for professional growth and development. About 74% of our students are women, and the remaining 26% are men. The overall average age for students here in the School of Education is around 29 to 30, really. So now that you're all acquainted with the Johns Hopkins School of Education, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hardiman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. So I'd like to give you a little bit of a history of how our program got started. Like many of you, I had an interest in learning how research from the learning sciences, from neuroscience, cognitive science, how can that inform and how should that inform what we know about how children learn? So for me, that started in my master's program, where I was studying the field of special ed, and in particular, the field of learning disabilities. And probably many of you know that one of the early titles of learning disabilities was minimal brain dysfunction. So there was knowledge then that children who had brain-based differences were going to learn differently in their classrooms. So I became interested in this even more in the 90s, which was the decade of the brain, and there was an explosion of research at that time on really brain structure and brain function, and then how to translate that information into usable knowledge in multiple fields. And I really felt that education of all the fields that were emerging from the 90s, neuro law, neuroeconomics, neuroaesthetics, that neuroeducation was the most important, that teachers needed to be the consumers of this knowledge. So I began to think about how that connection should be made and what research was emerging from this decade and how that could inform what we do. And that started my first several publications that came out during my doctoral program. And on the left on that slide, you see the first book, Connecting Brain Research with Effective Teaching. And that's when the brain-targeted teaching model was born. It was a model to take what we know from the sciences and translate it in a way that would inform how teachers teach and children learn. So joining Johns Hopkins University then later, from being a school principal, you see a picture of me out on the playground with the children. I really believed that, that teachers did need a framework. They needed to know how to take all of the different research and topics of research and really see it in a cohesive way, in a way that made sense to them, and in a way that was very purposeful. So while in my early years at Hopkins, I was encouraged to develop this interest and the brain-targeted teaching model into some academic work. And so I created the Mind, Brain, and Teaching Certificate that you're going to be learning more about. And let you know a little bit more about the brain-targeted teaching model that was really the genesis of that. You know, the model is framed in even more depth in the second book, which you see there on the slide to the right, the brain-targeted teaching model for 21st century schools. And what I found was that over time, as the research from the neuro and cognitive sciences continued to grow, the research was supporting the components of that model. And even now that our program has moved not only in the master's, but also in the doctoral program, we see new and more research coming in that we embed into our courses. It's really exciting to see it, and to see the connection in practice, to see how a lot of this work is supporting much of the tenets of the idea of supporting the whole child, some of the tenets of Common Core standards, and the idea that children need to acquire information, but also learn how to apply it in creative thinking and problem-solving skills, something that we often call 21st century skills. So it's been exciting for me to do this, and very exciting to be able to hand the baton over to Dr. Jomble to lead the Mind, Brain, and Teaching Certificate after I moved into the Vice Dean role. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jomble and let her tell you a little bit about her own work.
Thanks, Dr. Hardiman. Hello to all of you on the line right now and to listeners of our recording. My name is Ranjini Jomble, and I'm currently the Mind, Brain, and Teaching faculty lead for this program. I find myself in this field because of a deep interest that I have in trying to help educators find solutions for challenges in classrooms and for their classrooms in general. My own research lies in cultural competence and teacher practices and teacher efficacy beliefs, which are the most predictive factors for student outcomes. What I believe is that by better understanding what educators think and believe about themselves and the education context, we can better understand how we might provide supports to help them facilitate instruction, lead schools, and lead organizations with adults. I entered my postdoctoral fellowship under Dr. Hardiman's leadership, excited to engage in her project on teaching science through arts integrated teaching strategies. So given my background as a music teacher with a biology minor, this spoke deeply to what I believe to be true and what I had experienced as a music teacher when I integrated non-arts content into the music classroom when I was teaching. What we're finding in our research is that students tend to remember information better when they learn it through the arts. And there's a whole body of research out there from the cognitive science field that examines memory and memory effects in different ways, and we find that the arts recruits those memory effects, and that's one of the things that we study and we talk about in our program. In addition, Dr. Hardiman and I have been collaborating on examining the effects of the brain-targeted teaching professional development for teachers and school leaders, and particularly examining the effects of engaging in that model and what it does for their teacher efficacy beliefs. What we found is that in most cases, teachers report higher teacher efficacy, and they also believe more strongly that all children are teachable. We hypothesize that participants leave feeling more empowered because they're provided with this cross-curricular teaching strategies from the brain-targeted teaching framework that are rooted in research on learning and memory from cognitive science, neuroscience, experimental psychology, and the learning sciences in general. This content from our professional development and the research is integrated into our courses through the Mind, Brain, and Teaching certificate and in our doctoral courses as well. What I find extremely exciting about this interdisciplinary field is that we continue to explore the connections between the research from the learning sciences and from many of these different fields to help us better understand how people think and learn, and how to better tailor our practices to what we know is supported in research about learning and long-term memory. And we also continue to explore what is not appropriate for the education field yet and what's not translatable from the learning sciences to practice. I continue to be inspired by the ways in which the practitioners in our programs absorb and adapt this content to their professional practices, and I'm excited to welcome you to look through our program and our materials and apply and join our team. So why might some people pursue the Mind, Brain, and Teaching graduate certificate? Well, what we've learned from our students is that people are coming to gain knowledge and insights from the field of neuroeducation for numerous reasons. Some of our students come here in order to advance their practice. They're ready to dive deeper into the research about learning and memory and normal and abnormal cognitive development. Others are pursuing deeper knowledge concerning cross-curricular and cross-content knowledge and insights that could be leveraged in a leadership position. Because these findings apply generally in most fields, we find that we have a good number of school leaders and organizational leaders that are very interested in the course content and recent research within Mind, Brain, and Teaching. We also have students come to Mind, Brain, and Teaching to pivot their work into the policy field to help inform policymakers or school district leaders regarding the findings that are important to education systems. And we also attract educational consultants or those who are interested in starting up a consultant business in education. They're telling us that the knowledge gained from this program adds to their repertoire for what they can offer their clients. And then they tend to, through our program, develop a capstone project that's most appropriate to their potential clients in their context of education. And this is last on this slide, but maybe not completely inclusive of every reason that people come to us, is that we also have students entering this certificate to pursue graduate school as a part of their lifelong learning goal for continuous self-improvement in their careers and in life in general. I want to hand the mic back over to Dr. Hardiman to tell you about the MBT Program Sequence and what you'll find in our courses and why we order them this way.
Thank you, Dr. Johnbull. I am really excited to talk more about the certificate. I think we're just so proud of it because it has been the longest running certificate, both online and face-to-face. It has been one of the most popular. We have had to increase our number of cohorts because of the interest in our program. And it is competitive for entry, and we're excited about that. So, you know, we hope that everyone out there listening is interested in applying and that you study with us. So I'm going to tell you, you see 5 bullets here that represents the name of the courses. So the first course is called Explorations in Mind, Brain, and Teaching. And in that course, we start by talking about basic foundations of brain structure and function. And this is important because as you read research, you'll be reading about various parts of the brain and what they do, the executive function and the frontal lobe. You'll be learning about the emotional center of the brain, which is the limbic system. So we begin there, and then we get into more areas of cog science that inform teaching and learning. And you'll be studying that through the translational model of brain-targeted teaching. So the basic tenets that you'll be studying there will be the effects of emotions on learning, be looking at various ways to support attention, especially through the physical learning environment, looking at ways to design learning, drawing on schema theory and big picture ideas. We'll be looking at memory and memory effects, as Dr. John Bull said, and we'll be looking at creativity and creative problem solving and what the research says about that. So those broad brush strokes will be part of what you will explore in that first course. The second course, you go deeper into the research itself, and in cognitive development, you're looking at normal theories of cognition, and then more pointedly here, research from mostly cognitive development that informs how children learn and what you can do with that information in the classroom. Then next, we look at abnormal development, neurobiology of learning differences. We'll explore neurobiology behind some of the disabilities that I talked about earlier, learning disabilities, autism, speech and language disorders. Then we go into cognitive processes of two areas that are very important to all of us in education, but certainly in the K-12 world, and that is English language arts or literacy and mathematics or numeracy. And here, there's tons of research, both behavioral and biological, that really inform our work in the field of education. And then finally, special topics in brain science is a way for you to apply. It's a capstone course, and you can apply knowledge that you have learned in the previous 4 courses to create your own research-based project, looking at what the research is within a special topic of interest to you and how that research then informs what you do in your classroom. So we, again, are very proud of these courses, and we've gotten some great feedback about them. So I'll turn this back over to Dr. John Bull to talk more about that.
Well, one of the things that people refer back to are the outcomes of their MBT graduate degree, whether it was in the certificate or in the doctoral program. We send people out and we say that you are now research translators and that you're neuroeducators once you finish the degree. And people have told us that they've gained deep skills for digesting research literature that they did not have before. We help our students deeply root themselves in the bodies of literature relevant to your practice, and that there are projects that are developed throughout the coursework that immediately translate research to practice. As neuroeducators, our students gain essential knowledge concerning this intersection between mind, brain, and teaching research. And we empower you and fill your toolbox with those instruments and projects ready for implementation within your professional practice. And we have students come back and tell us that they're now serving as the point people for knowledge from the learning sciences. And they're leaders now within their schools and fields. Here's just a few snapshots of what people say at the end of the program. And we have a lot of different quotes, but I'll let you read through these yourself. People really tend to find that that this knowledge has changed not only how they think about education, but it changes their identity as an educator or as a professional, either in school leadership or in counseling or whatever field that they're going into. They find that the Mind, Brain, and Teaching program has helped them develop into a new professional, and we are very excited about all of this feedback. I'll hand the mic back over to Mr. Goolsby.
So there are a couple different ways that you can kind of navigate through the certificate program. And so one is to just do the Mind, Brain, and Teaching graduate certificate as a standalone certificate to add on to graduate degree that you may already have in your professional experience. We also offer, I think, a fairly unique type of degree here. It's a Master of Science in Education with an interdisciplinary focus, and that can be completed in a couple different ways. One way is you combine two graduate certificates that we offer here together. So you could combine the MBT certificate with any of the certificates listed here on the slide. Or you can kind of create your own degree and build that around the certificate, where you would work with your advisor to pick courses that we offer here in the School of Education, and to really tailor your education and tailor your degree to your strengths, your interests, areas for growth for yourself, where you can really apply the work and the learning that you do here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education directly to the work that you do once you leave us. And then also, of course, the Mind, Brain, and Teaching, there is a Mind, Brain, and Teaching specialization area within our online Doctor of Education program. Anyone have anything to add to that?
No, I think that is a good explanation. I think we've had many students, Andrew, go through the Mind, Brain, and Teaching certificate and move it into the Masters of Science in Education, and feel that they come out with several areas of specialization if they combine certificates. If they do the one certificate model, there are some core courses that they will take, and then they can tailor their own. So it is a really unique way to study this. So we encourage you to think about that too as well if you're thinking about getting a master's degree.
And maybe my the last point that I would add to that is that one of the unique things about a Johns Hopkins School of Education Masters is that you can do an interdisciplinary type of program like this. And that's not very common at other universities, and it does reflect who we are at Hopkins, promoting interdisciplinary work and work between the silos and the different fields, which MBT, Mind, Brain, and Teaching, really embodies that interdisciplinary approach to learning.
So I'd just like to say one more unique feature before we close out, and that is that we have an international group of scholars because this program is online. And that really does promote a really very rich discussion within our online model. So it's we look forward to you joining us and to learning from other scholars like yourself, whether locally or nationally or internationally. Andrew, back to you.
Thank you. So now that we've gone over the program and you're all acquainted with what we have to offer here, for those that are interested in pursuing the certificate and would like to submit an application, I'm just going to briefly go over our admission process, touch upon financial aid, and then open it up to any questions you may have. So next slide. Priority deadline for fall start. All cohorts for the MET certificate start in the fall. The priority deadline was April 1st. However, we are still accepting applications for folks to begin this fall. We do recognize that many teachers aren't aware or aren't told what type of funding they may be receiving for the school year to take courses or to pursue degrees, certificates, professional development. So we do like to continue a rolling admission process as long as we can until that fall semester starts. So we are still accepting applications if you are interested in beginning the fall of 2018. Applicants will begin the process by submitting a completed online application form, which you can find right on our website, and the application fee, which is $80. And once you submit your application, you'll receive a confirmation email with instructions on next steps of how to upload your supporting documents using our self-service system in the Johns Hopkins internet world. So this means that it's really important that you provide an accurate email address that you check regularly, as this is how we'll communicate with you throughout the application process. So if it's been an hour or two since you've applied and you haven't received anything from us, check your spam folder. If there's nothing there, then definitely reach out to us during normal business hours so that we can look into that for you. You will need to upload a current resume or CV, as well as a disposition survey. This is a 4-question short answer response questionnaire that you'll receive a link to in your application receipt email, but you can also access that on our website if you misplace that email for any reason. You will need to provide 2 letters of recommendation, which can be mailed or emailed to us directly, or you can upload them yourself within that self-service portal. If your recommender provides your letter directly to you, we do ask and we do require that it has a physical signature on that letter so that we can consider it official. So that means typically your recommender will need to print out the letter, sign it, and then scan it so that it's available to you electronically. If there is no physical signature, it won't be considered official, which will delay the process a bit, and we would communicate with you if we needed an updated letter from you with that signature. You also need to submit your essay or personal statement. Similar to the link for the disposition survey, the prompt for this will be in your application receipt email, and it is also in the admissions section of our website. Excuse me. We will, of course, need your official transcripts, which we can receive through the mail or electronically if your previous institutions accept transcripts or send transcripts electronically. And then lastly, we'll need a sample of scholarly writing from you. This could be a paper written for prior coursework or professional purposes. It should be around 750 to 1,500 words. We do prefer to see writing that's more analytical or research focused. And that's about it as far as the materials that we need to consider you for admission. For those that are interested in joining the program after this fall, so starting in the fall of 2019, it's important to know that this process is changing. we're in the middle of changing our application system. So this, like I said, this process will be different starting for folks that are interested in fall 2019. And we will have information on the new updated process and system on our website as soon as this September. So you'll have plenty of notice on what that change will look like and how to submit some of your information, because that will be a little bit different than how we've just explained it now. But because we're still accepting applications for this fall, it's important that you all know how we're currently doing our process for admissions. So if you are an international student, there are a few additional steps that will need to be taken to apply to the School of Education. You will need official TOEFL or IELTS scores or a TOEFL waiver request form, which you can find on our website, or you can email the admissions office directly. We'll send you a copy of that waiver form if you would like that. If your degree was completed outside of the United States, we will need you to submit a course-by-course evaluation in lieu of transcripts. So you'll provide your official transcripts to the evaluation service, and they'll provide us the official evaluation of that transcript. Please note that if you are looking for visa sponsorship, we do not offer I-20s for part-time study, graduate certificate programs, or online programs. So if there are any international folks that are interested in pursuing just this program, you can do it. It's all online. However, we won't be able to sponsor an I-20 for you to get your F1 student visa to study here in person, since it's an all online program. Okay. So the tuition rate for online courses is $840 per credit. It should be noted that this is the anticipated tuition rate for this upcoming academic year. Tuition will likely increase each year. And we encourage you to review the full tuition and fees page on our website so that you have the most up-to-date information about tuition and fees, and so that you can understand the complete picture of the costs associated with becoming a student here. Okay, so those students enrolled in only the one certificate program or this particular certificate program do not qualify to apply for financial aid because you do need to be enrolled in at least 2 courses each semester. And students in the Mind Reading and Teaching program take one per semester. So financial aid isn't an option if you're just doing that. But if you are interested in the MSED that we explained earlier, the interdisciplinary option, you can apply for financial aid as long as you're enrolled in at least 2 courses per semester. And so please note that the priority deadlines are listed on the slide, and the financial aid website is a really great resource of information for learning the process for applying for financial aid. And you can also find the office's contact information there. Okay, so if you'd like to get in contact with us in admissions, you can reach out at the information listed here on the slide. The admissions office lives at our location in Columbia, Maryland. And also, if you're having transcripts or recommendation letters or any supporting documents sent to us, you'll want to send all of that to our Columbia location, the address that's listed here on this slide. Also listed here is the contact information for Dr. John Bull, and also the academic program coordinator, Kiana Napper. She's a really great resource to have, another person that you can connect with if you have questions about the program or admissions, anything like that. Everyone here is more than happy to help, so just reach out with any questions that you may have. So that's it. I'm going to open it up to some questions. If anybody does have any questions, if you're tuning in live right now, you can use that chat feature. I did have a couple questions sent over to me that we can go over, and feel free to use that chat tool as we're answering some of these questions if you'd like. So the first question that I received was, if I do this program, can I continue into the online Doctor of Education program for migraine and teaching?
So currently, we cannot admit you into that online EDD program as a migraine teaching specialization student from the master's certificate. The reason for that is that we took those same courses, those same 5 courses, and we embedded the doctoral work into those courses. For the EDD, we are in the process of developing more migraine and teaching courses, so that eventually our students from the migraine teaching certificate could further their knowledge and deepen their insights in migraine and teaching and their research in more specialized courses within the MBT field. We don't have those courses ready yet, unfortunately, but we do have a lot of other wonderful options for the online EDD within the entrepreneurial leadership and education specialization. We have the technology specialization. Now we have an urban education specialization. So there are a number of really wonderful specializations that you might be very interested in. Also, the core courses in the first year have a lot of content from educational psychology and migraine and teaching that are embedded into the courses that would deepen your knowledge. But the specialization is currently not possible, but in the future, it's a part of our plan.
Thank you. Somebody else asked if they would ever need to come to campus.
Not for the migraine teaching certificate program at this time. For the migraine teaching doctorate, there is an on-campus residency and orientation, but that is something that we're looking into for our long-term plans.
And you're always welcome to visit us.
Absolutely, we'd love to see you.
Whether you have to come here or not. Somebody was wondering about when classes meet and if they needed to be online at certain times.
So this program is an asynchronous online program. We do have a couple of synchronous sessions each semester for each course that are completely optional, and we record them. We normally have a synchronous session at the beginning of the semester and usually one at the end of the semester, just to introduce the course content, go over any questions, go over the assignments, and engage a little bit with you. But they're not required, and because we have students across the mainland US and international students, it's difficult to have required synchronous sessions for an online program, especially our online program. So it's an asynchronous program. It's optional, and the answer the short answer is no.
And the last question that I had come in here on the chat was from somebody that said they're a school counselor and they're interested in the program, but they're not a teacher. And you had mentioned school admins might be interested. But is this a good fit for folks that aren't necessarily directly in the classroom?
Oh, absolutely. We have for the past 3 years now, we've been attracting usually a cohort of traditional K-12 or K-16 educators and a cohort of folks that are from non-traditional, what we would say was non-traditional for migraine teaching. So we have school leaders, we have higher education leaders, we have education consultants, we have folks from physical therapy, counseling, all different fields that are coming to glean insights from this interdisciplinary body of knowledge. So absolutely, counseling would fit very well with migraine and teaching because you will learn a lot about the brain structure and function, about emotions and memory, about the connection between what your brain is doing and what's happening in terms of behavior. It's a great program, especially for counseling, but definitely for all, in my opinion, all fields.
We did have another one come in. I thought that'd be our last one. But how much time should I expect to spend on coursework each week?
On course, it varies by course. The time you spend on coursework varies by course. The majority of our sessions we build out into 2-week sessions. So there would be reading, some media or lectures that you would need to watch, an assignment, a discussion board post, some responses that you need to create for your cohort mates. So within that 2-week period, it could be anywhere between 5 to 10 hours of work.
That's typical of a course though, because if you were going to do a face-to-face course, you're driving to class, however long that takes you, right? You are in class for what your time frame of whatever it is, an hour to 3 hours, right? 2 hours course maybe. And then you have work afterwards. So I think we've calibrated the online program so that the time itself is not dissimilar from what a face-to-face course would be.
Yeah, so it's comparable to what you would find in a face-to-face master's.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all we have for everyone tonight. Dr. Harden and Dr. John Bolt, thank you so much for coming and talking with us about your program. And everyone that tuned in and everyone that will listen at a later date, thank you so much for your interest in our program, and we hope to see you online soon. Thank you.